On the other hand, India was free and jubilation there was connected with that. On the other hand, there was this terrible tragedy. And Gandhi was in Delhi, New Delhi. By the way, Delhi and New Delhi are terms used for each other. They mean the same thing. There was an old city of Delhi for centuries. The British built another city right next to it, and they called it New Delhi. And the two are just like Havana and Champagne. Gandhi was in Delhi at this time, and he was having to deal with unhappy, angry, and bitter people from both sides. There were many Muslims who were being pushed out of their homes and were being forced, coerced, to leave their homes and go to Pakistan. Delhi also had, by this time, hundreds of thousands, and soon it would be 1 million or more, Hindus and Sikhs who had come from Pakistan, who had lost everything, who had seen their loved ones killed at times, who were as refugees trying to start a new life in New Delhi. They were also unhappy and angry, and they held Gandhi responsible. They said, you were the leader of all of us, you were supposed to be the father of the Indian nation, and you didn't prevent this terrible violence, this terrible destruction. We want you to do something for us, and we also want to take out our anger on you. Now, an interesting feature of Gandhi's life was the late afternoon multi-faith prayer meeting at 5 o'clock every afternoon or evening. He would hold a prayer meeting where verses from scriptures of different religions would be recited, prayer songs would be sung, lasting for about 20 minutes in all. So these were short verses or extracts from religious services of different religions. Which religions? Well, depending on who was present. If Christians were present, there was something always included from the Christian service. If Jews were present, something from Judaism. But almost always, something from Hinduism, something from the Sikh scripture, and something from Islam, and something from Buddhism, because people representing these faiths were always there for about 20 minutes. And at the end of this prayer service, Gandhi would speak for about 15 or 20 minutes, and he would speak on what was happening in the country, and he would try and give some counsel. And by this time, it was his lieutenants who were running India. Nehru was Prime Minister, Patel was Deputy Prime Minister. Other leaders of the Indian freedom movement who had fought alongside Gandhi, who were like his disciples in many ways, they were running India. So, whatever Gandhi said during those 15 or 20 minutes at the end of the prayer meeting was relayed over all India radio to the nation. Because, after all, the radio was controlled by the government, and the government was run by his lieutenants. Who came to these prayer meetings? Well, the majority were Hindus and Sikhs. Muslims didn't come in large numbers. They were afraid, because by this time the Muslims were in a vulnerable minority, and they felt threatened. They often came to see Gandhi privately, to speak to them of their fears, their anxieties. The Hindus and Sikhs were the vast majority. They came to his prayer meetings, and the vast majority of those who came to his prayer meetings were completely in agreement with Gandhi's line of thinking, which was that Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs had to live together, that we have to find a way of living together. But some in the audience were often quite unhappy and bitter, especially those who had come as refugees and who had very clear and fresh memories of the violence that they had seen. And their anger would come to the surface whenever the reading from the Quran was recited at this prayer meeting. It was a very short reading. It is the opening chapter of the Quran. It's known as the Al-Fatiha. And it's a very short piece, and for those who have not read it, I would recommend that all non-Muslims of the world should know what Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter of the Quran, says. So whenever, or when this was recited, at times, not every day, but at times, somebody from the congregation would stand up and say, "We will not allow the Quran to be recited." Because it was in the name of the Quran that some of the killings were done, they would claim. And we don't want the Quran recited. I was often present at these prayer meetings. By this time, my school day was over, and with one or two of my siblings, I was at these prayer meetings. I would sit close to him, face sometimes 300, sometimes 2,000 people. And I would watch these people stand up, angry young men, and say, "No Quran." So Gandhi would say to the audience, "These people don't want it. What do you want?" And the vast majority would say, "Of course we want your prayers to be conducted as they normally are conducted. We have no objection to this." So Gandhi would say to those who were objecting, "Well, the vast majority of the audience doesn't seem to mind. I request you also to withdraw your objection." And sometimes they would withdraw it, and the Quran would be recited. And then the other portions of prayer would also continue as planned. At times, the objectors would not withdraw their objection. "No, no, no. We will not allow the Quran to be recited."